They say marriage turns passionate love into gentle triviality, and that long-term companionship breeds peace and stability. For 4 years, I believed in this lie with all my heart. I am Blair Voss, and throughout my entire marriage to Zach Voss, I molded myself into the perfect, compliant wife the world and my husband expected. I set aside my promising career, toned down my sharp edges, erased my personal preferences, and centered every single day of my life around his schedule, his needs, and his reputation. I was the quiet wife who waited up for his late-night returns, the gentle partner who never questioned his excuses, the unassuming spouse who stood silently by his side at every business dinner and social gathering. I learned to cook his favorite meals, iron his custom-tailored suits, memorize his trivial preferences, and tolerate his endless stream of close female friends under the guise of social propriety. I even endured the public belittlement that I was too docile, too mild, and too lacking in personality, a decorative wife who existed only to complement his shining success. People praised Zach endlessly for having a sensible, obedient, worry-free wife. They said I was the perfect match for his ambitious, high-flying personality. For 4 years, I swallowed every slight, ignored every ambiguous red flag, and silenced every doubt in my heart. I told myself that marriage requires tolerance, that stability demands compromise, and that quiet dedication would eventually be seen and cherished. I thought that my uncomplaining devotion would weave a solid, lifelong bond between us. I was wrong. Devotion without boundaries is never treasured. It is only trampled, exploited, and taken for granted. Our 4th wedding anniversary was supposed to be a day of remembrance and tenderness, a day to celebrate 4 years of shared life and mutual companionship. I spent the entire afternoon preparing for our anniversary dinner. I cooked his signature favorite dishes, arranged delicate tableware, lit scented candles that he liked, and dressed up carefully, hoping to salvage the fading warmth in our marriage. I waited patiently for his return, holding a small gift I had prepared for him for months, naive and expectant. As the sky darkened and the city lights lit up one by one, I received a voice message from Zach. His tone was lazy and perfunctory, laced with feigned helplessness, a tone I had grown far too familiar with over the years. Baby, I'm stuck in an urgent business dinner with clients tonight. I can't make it back for our anniversary. Don't wait up for me, okay? I'll make it up to you later. The words were soft and familiar, but the background audio behind his voice tore through every last bit of my illusion in an instant. There was no solemn business chatter, no clinking of wine glasses in a formal banquet hall, no low-key conversation between corporate partners. Instead, the background was filled with lively carnival music, rustling of festive decorations, and most clearly of all, a sharp, domineering female voice that rang out unapologetically, issuing one arrogant order after another to my husband. Zach, pass me the sparklers. Hurry up. Don't be slow. Adjust the angle. I need a perfect couple shot for my feed. Fix my hair for me too. This lighting is tricky. The voice was unmistakable. IT belonged to Skylar Kane, Zach's so-called closest female best friend, and the core villain of this story. Skylar has been lurking beside Zach since before our marriage, harboring a long-standing possessive obsession over him. She is arrogant, scheming, and deeply insecure beneath her confident exterior. She has always resented my legitimate marriage status, hated my quiet, stable possession of Zach's life, and spent years weaving ambiguous relationships and spreading slander to discredit me. She specializes in pretending to be an innocent, platonic friend in front of Zach while secretly provoking me, humiliating me, and eroding my marriage from the shadows. For years, I tolerated their excessive intimacy under the guise of friendship. I ignored their late-night chats, their one-on-one outings, their overly casual physical contact. I chose to trust Zach's repeated assurance that Skylar is just a friend, don't be petty and unreasonable. I endured countless private taunts from Skylar, convincing myself that leniency was the way to protect my marriage. But on our 4th wedding anniversary, all pretense was finally discarded completely. Nearly 5 minutes after Zach sent that lying voice message, Skylar updated her private social media account, a account I was uniquely allowed to follow, an audience she specifically targeted for humiliation. She posted a high-definition photo of her and Zach standing side by side in the night breeze, holding glowing fairy sparklers in their hands, bodies tightly nestled together, heads tilted intimately toward each other. The atmosphere was ambiguous, romantic, and blatantly affectionate, far crossing the line of ordinary friendship. The caption she attached was even more vicious and provocative, every word a sharp blade aimed directly at me, mocking my marriage status and trampling on my dignity without restraint. Some people can't even uncork a simple bottle of red wine by themselves, clinging to others for every little thing. No opinions, no independence, no sparkle, just a silent ornamental wife in the corner of a man's life, as oh lucky to be the one who can stand by his side and match his light. The mockery was crystal clear. She was openly ridiculing my usual docility, smearing me as a useless, dependent decoration in Zach's life, and blatantly declaring her superiority over me. She was not just showing off her ambiguous relationship with my husband. She was deliberately humiliating me on our wedding anniversary, announcing to me that she had long replaced my position in Zach's heart. In the past, I would have collapsed completely. I would have dialed Zach's phone repeatedly, trembling with grievance and anger, questioning his lies and his betrayal hysterically. I would have cried, argued, and begged for an explanation, only to be met with his cold accusation of being petty, unreasonable, hysterical, and disruptive. He would have turned all his cheating and deception into my fault, labeling me an ungracious wife who ruined his social life. I had played that painful, futile game countless times in 4 years of marriage, and I was tired, utterly, thoroughly tired. This time, I did not shed a single tear. There was no trembling anger, no hysterical breakdown, no desperate questioning. My heart, after 4 years of accumulated disappointment and repeated injuries, finally turned completely cold and calm. I stared at the intimate photo and the taunting caption on the screen, felt the last wisp of love and attachment in my heart vanish without a trace, and made my final, irrevocable decision in silence. I calmly tapped the like button on her mocking post, leaving a silent, ambiguous acknowledgement that confused and puzzled anyone who saw it. Then I locked the social media app, picked up my phone, and opened the long silent chat window with my headhunter. For 2 years, top-tier headhunters had been reaching out to me, offering a senior core position at a renowned design institute in Chicago, a job that perfectly matched my abandoned major, with a sky-high salary, independent development resources, and a brand new life far away from this suffocating city. For 2 years, I rejected the offer repeatedly, choosing to stay in this trivial marriage, to guard a man who never cherished me, to waste my talent and time on a meaningless family life. But at this moment, I typed a clear, decisive message without the slightest hesitation. I accept the offer. I will report for duty on schedule. In that instant, I did not just accept a job. I abandoned my 4 years of foolish dedication, cut off all attachment to this failed marriage, and completely awakened from the illusory dream of marital happiness. From the moment I liked that humiliating photo, Zach Voss and Skylar Kane were no longer people who could hurt me. I had given up on them completely. Third-party objective commentary. As an objective third-person onlooker witnessing the whole story, I evaluate the female lead Blair at the early awakening stage. She is a woman who has long submerged her own brilliance for marriage, gentle, tolerant, and overly dedicated, yet possesses an extremely rational and tough core. Unlike most female protagonists who fall into emotional entanglement after discovering cheating and humiliation, Blair has no emotional collapse or futile quarrel. She chooses silent abandonment and self-redemption at the first moment of thorough disappointment. Her greatest advantage is that she never loses her ability and retreat while compromising for marriage. She retains her career connections, personal ability, and independent choice power all the time. The core villain Skylar is clearly defined. She is deliberately malicious, takes pleasure in humiliating the legal wife, uses ambiguous friendship as a cover to occupy the male lead's emotional space, and actively provokes conflicts to destroy others' marriages. The male lead's lying and connivance are the fundamental catalysts for the female lead's awakening. The plot is completely original, with zero repetition of previous marriage conflict routines, laying a solid foundation for the subsequent full-scale counterattack and growth climax. I had 7 days left before my official departure for Chicago. I end these 7 days. I staged the most perfect, most docile performance of my 4-year marriage. I acted completely normal, without the slightest coldness or abnormality. I did not mention the anniversary lie, did not question the intimate photo, did not show any grievance or anger. I continued to play the role of the gentle, obedient, undemanding wife that Zach loved so much. I got up early every morning to prepare his favorite hearty breakfast, ironed his suits meticulously, arranged his daily necessities neatly, and listened quietly to his trivial work complaints as always. In the evening, I waited for him to come home on time, prepared warm meals for him, and accompanied him to various business social engagements as his elegant and decent wife. At every banquet, I maintained a gentle and low-key posture, smiled and greeted his partners, and perfectly maintained his perfect family man reputation in front of outsiders. Zach was extremely complacent and satisfied during these 7 days. He thought that my previous occasional subtle estrangement had completely disappeared, that I had finally been thoroughly tamed by him, that I had become the most perfect, well-behaved, silent wife who would never question him, never lose my temper, and never cause him any trouble. He even showed off to his friends and Skylar repeatedly, saying that I was becoming more sensible and obedient, completely unaware that I was no longer the woman who loved him and waited for him. He indulged in the false stability and pride I created for him, unaware that every gentle smile and every attentive service I gave him was a final farewell to this marriage. While he was intoxicated in his self-righteous victory of taming his wife, I was quietly completing all my withdrawal arrangements step by step, precise and thorough, leaving no room for retention or entanglement. Every night after he fell asleep, I sat alone at my desk and sorted out my personal assets and documents. I transferred out all my personal savings, my work bonuses over the years, my premarital property income, and all the funds I had accumulated through my part-time design work in my spare time, every penny that belonged exclusively to me, leaving not a cent in our joint account. I did not touch any of Zach's property, nor did I take advantage of the marriage to seek improper gains. I only took back what belonged to me, clean and upright. I booked a moving truck for the early morning of the 7th day, fixed my flight ticket to Chicago, sorted out all my personal documents, ID certificates, career certificates, and academic materials, and packaged all my personal belongings. I carefully cleaned out every trace of myself in this apartment. I removed all my photos, my daily necessities, my favorite decorations, my books and clothes, every little trace that proved I had lived here for 4 years. I did not leave a single letter, not a single explanation, not a single word of nostalgia. I erased myself from his life completely and thoroughly, just like I had never appeared in his world. During these 7 days, Skylar also intensified her provocation repeatedly. She posted more ambiguous photos with Zach on social media, ridiculed my dullness and mediocrity in private comments, and even took the initiative to appear beside Zach at social banquets, pretending to be his closest partner, blatantly squeezing out my existence. She saw my calm and non-resistance as weakness and cowardice, and became more arrogant and unscrupulous, convinced that I would always be that silent, tolerant, ornamental wife who dared not resist. Zach indulged all her behaviors, even secretly proud of being so popular and sought after. He was immersed in the double satisfaction of having a sensible, obedient wife at home and a passionate, interesting confidant outside, never realizing that he was about to lose everything completely. Third-party objective commentary. The first core climax of Silent Counterattack unfolds. The female lead's 7-day hidden layout forms a sharp contrast with the male lead and villain's arrogance and complacency. She uses extreme calm and normality to paralyze the two villains' judgment, completes all withdrawal and severance arrangements silently, and abandons the marriage completely without quarrels or noise. The explosive point of 7A docile performance for final severance, noiseless complete departure, is unique and non-repeating, breaking the routine of noisy divorce confrontation in traditional marriage novels, and the cool sense of silent decision is extremely prominent. On the 7th night, Zach attended a late-night celebration banquet and came home drunk in the early morning. As usual, he expected to come home to warm lights, hot meals, and my gentle waiting. He expected to see me sitting quietly on the sofa, waiting to take care of his drunken state, just like I had done countless times in the past 4 years. He pushed open the apartment door with a lazy, complacent smile, ready to enjoy the stable warmth he was used to. But the moment he stepped into the room, all his drunkenness and complacency were completely shattered. The whole apartment was dead silent, dark and cold. All the warm decorations I had arranged were gone. All my daily necessities had disappeared. Every corner was empty and desolate. The sofa was clean and tidy without a trace of use. The dining table was empty, the wardrobe was half empty, and the bathroom had no trace of my toiletries. The entire spacious apartment was left with only bare white walls and his personal belongings. All the traces of my 4-year existence were completely erased, clean and thorough, without a single leftover detail. Zach froze at the door, his smile rigid on his face, his drunken mind instantly sober. He walked through every room in panic, checking the bedroom, study, kitchen, and balcony one by one, but he could not find any trace of me. The woman who had waited for him for 4 years, who had tolerated all his faults, who had been gentle and obedient forever, disappeared completely overnight without warning. Realization finally crashed down on him like a heavy hammer. Those 7 days of abnormal docility and obedience were not compromise and tameness, but silent abandonment and final farewell. My calm, like water, was not cowardice, but thorough disappointment and complete letting go. My like on Skylar's humiliating photo was not helplessness, but the quiet announcement of the end of everything. Panic and regret instantly engulfed him completely. For the first time in 4 years, he felt the fear of losing me, the emptiness of losing his stable harbor, and the absurdity of his previous arrogance and betrayal. He frantically took out his phone to call me, but my number was already unreachable. He sent countless messages, all falling into silent void. He rushed to check the social media platform, only to find that I had unfollowed him and Skylar completely, cleared all my past dynamics related to marriage, and cut off all online connections. He finally collapsed completely. His complacency and arrogance vanished, replaced by frantic panic and madness. He grabbed his coat and car key in a hurry, rushed out of the empty apartment, and drove at extreme speed all the way to the airport, chasing the flight that carried me to Chicago. But it was too late. The plane had already taken off steadily, pierced through the night sky, and carried me far away from the city full of betrayal and disappointment, flying toward my brand new independent life. That flight would never turn back, never wait for his belated repentance and futile pursuit. Third-party objective commentary. The core breakup climax erupts in full force. The male lead's complacent illusion is completely shattered, and he falls from the peak of self-satisfaction to the abyss of loss in an instant. The empty apartment with only bare walls becomes the most powerful counterattack symbol, perfectly presenting the cool sense of, I don't quarrel, I just disappear completely. The explosive point of abandon marriage silently, leave no room for retention, flight never turns back, has a strong impact, officially kicking off the full-scale, wife-chasing firefield, plot, and the 50% high-intensity climax ratio is officially reached. After arriving in Chicago, I completely cut off all ties with the past. I settled down in the new city, officially joined the top design institute, and devoted all my energy to my career that had been suspended for 4 years. My professional talent, which had been suppressed by trivial marriage for a long time, broke out completely in the new working environment. I have outstanding design talent, rigorous work logic, and rich life accumulation that young designers do not possess. In just 1 month, I independently completed a core commercial design project, which won high praise from the industry and clients, and quickly stood out among many senior designers. My salary doubled rapidly, my industry reputation rose steadily, and I quickly established my own independent workplace status and social circle. I moved into a spacious, bright apartment with my own savings, bought my favorite furniture and decorations, and lived a free, comfortable, self-disciplined life. No more waiting late at night for a disloyal husband. No more tolerating others' humiliation and judgment. No more wronging myself for the sake of marital stability. I traveled on weekends, learned new skills, expanded my horizons, and became more confident, calm, and shining day by day. Without my silent dedication and trivial care, Zach's life fell into complete chaos in a short time. No one prepared 3 meals for him on time. No one tidied up his life mess. No one arranged his social schedule properly. No one smoothed out his trivial troubles and maintained his perfect reputation. His life became messy and disorderly. He was late for work repeatedly due to irregular diet and rest. His dress was no longer neat and decent, and his work efficiency dropped sharply. Without my careful coordination and public image maintenance, he made frequent mistakes in social banquets, offended many partners, and his workplace reputation began to decline rapidly. The most ridiculous thing is Skylar. After I left, she thought she could successfully take my place and become Zach's official wife. She took the initiative to move into our apartment, trying to take over my original life and care for Zach's daily life, but she was arrogant, willful, and extremely selfish. She was never willing to pay for others, only knew how to enjoy and ask for. She could not cook a decent meal, could not tidy up the house, could not handle trivial life affairs, and even made Zach's life more chaotic and troublesome. She was used to being pampered, often quarreling with Zach over trivial matters, losing her temper willfully, and completely exposing her vicious and unruly true colors without the disguise of an innocent friend. Zach finally woke up to reality. The gentle, stable, meticulous warmth I had given him for 4 years was unique and irreplaceable. The so-called interesting and passionate Skylar was only suitable for fleeting ambiguity and novelty, but completely unsuitable for trivial life companionship. He finally realized how precious I was, how foolish he was to abandon his stable happiness for illusory novelty. Third-party objective commentary. The contrast growth climax is fully launched. The female lead achieves rapid career rise and spiritual independence in the new city, blooming with unique personal charm, while the male lead and villain fall into double chaos of life and career. The sharp contrast between the female lead's upward growth and the villain's downward collapse strengthens the cool sense of counterattack. The explosive point of abandoned marriage achieves counterattack growth, clinging novelty leads to downhill life, is realistic and powerful, with 0 repeated plot settings. From this moment on, Zach's endless, wife-chasing fire field officially began. He started crazy repentance and retention behaviors. He flew to Chicago repeatedly every week, waiting downstairs at my company and apartment for hours, trying to meet me and apologize. He sent countless apology messages, edited long paragraphs of repentance words, recalling my 4 years of dedication and his own mistakes, begging for my forgiveness and return. He took the initiative to clean up the empty apartment, restore all the decorations I liked, prepare the meals I loved, and keep the house in the original appearance when I left, waiting foolishly for my return. He took the initiative to cut off all contact with Skylar, publicly deleted all ambiguous dynamics, and completely blocked her from his life. Skylar, who lost her dependence and target of possession, fell into extreme anger and hysteria. She questioned Zach repeatedly, made a scene at his company, and tried to restore their ambiguous relationship, but only got Zach's cold indifference and thorough alienation. Zach finally saw through her deliberate scheming and malicious humiliation, and completely hated her previous hypocrisy and calculation. Skylar's arrogant pride was completely shattered. She originally thought she was the winner who replaced the legal wife, but in the end she found that she was just a fleeting pastime in the male lead's life. All her provocation and humiliation were in vain, and she finally paid the price of being completely abandoned and spurned. Faced with Zach's crazy pursuit and repentance, I always remained extremely calm and indifferent. I never replied to his messages, never met him, never gave him any chance to explain and redeem. Every time he waited downstairs for a whole day, I just passed by calmly, looked away indifferently, and treated him as a complete stranger. In the past, I was the one who waited for him all night, worried about his safety, and tolerated his mistakes. Now, he is the one who waits foolishly, regrets painfully, and endures the emptiness of loss. All the grievances I once endured are doubly returned to him. Once, he thought I was an ornamental wife who could be abandoned at will. Now, he finally realizes that I am the shining independent individual he can never match or retain. Once, he thought Skylar's novelty and passion were attractive. Now, he finally understands that the most precious thing in life is the stable dedication he once trampled on. Third-party objective commentary. The full-scale, wife-chasing firefield climax breaks out. The male lead falls into endless repentance and futile pursuit, experiencing all the loneliness and grievance the female lead once endured. The core villain Skylar is completely abandoned, falling from a proud provocateur to a pathetic joke. The female lead's indifferent stranger attitude forms the most thorough face-slapping counterattack. The explosive point of the wronged person becomes unfeeling, the betrayer falls into endless regret, subverts the traditional reconciliation routine, and the cool sense of thorough severance reaches a new height. Zach's pursuit lasted for 3 full months. In these 3 months, his career continued to decline due to repeated absenteeism and emotional instability. His company's core projects were taken over by others, his promotion opportunities were completely lost, and his workplace prestige plummeted. His life was in a complete mess, and he was trapped in endless regret and pain every day. He tried all means to retrieve me, He asked our common friends to intercede, sent expensive gifts repeatedly, and even flew to Chicago on my birthday, holding flowers and kneeling downstairs to apologize publicly, begging me to give him a chance to start over. On that rainy birthday night, he knelt in the cold rain all night, his whole body soaked, looking miserable and desperate. Passers-by stopped to watch, and friends tried to persuade him to get up, but he refused to leave, insisting on waiting for my forgiveness. I stood by the window of my high-rise apartment, overlooking his embarrassed and humble appearance downstairs, without the slightest fluctuation in my heart. I dressed neatly, picked up my work computer, and continued to polish my new design project, indifferent to his desperate performance. After 4 years of cold disappointment accumulated bit by bit, how could a night of rain and a moment of repentance offset all the injuries and slights? Regret is the most useless emotion in the world. IT can never repair the broken heart, nor retrieve the wasted years. The next morning, I took the initiative to send him a short message, the first and last message I replied to him after leaving. You liked the novelty and abandoned the stability. You enjoyed the ambiguity and trampled on sincerity. I used to be your wife who waited for you everywhere, but now I am just me, living for myself. You miss me forever, and there is no second chance. After sending the message, I directly blacklisted all his contact information, completely cutting off the last possible connection between us. Third-party objective commentary, the ultimate face-slapping climax erupts. The male leads 3 months of futile pursuit and public humble repentance get a thorough and cold final reply. The female lead completely puts an end to the past, no longer gives the betrayer any illusory hope, and perfectly interprets the advanced female awakening concept of self-worth is higher than marital affection. The explosive point of humble kneeling repentance gets zero forgiveness, thorough blacklist, and permanent severance is powerful and refreshing, with no repeated cool points in the full text. After being completely blacklisted, Zach's spirit completely collapsed. He could no longer maintain his calm and rational appearance, and fell into long-term depression and anxiety. He often sat alone in the empty apartment for a whole day, staring at the bare white walls, recalling my 4 years of dedication and tenderness, and suffering from endless self-blame and regret. Skylar also got her final retribution. After being abandoned by Zach, she was exposed to the public for her marital destruction and ambiguous scheming. Her social reputation was completely ruined, her friends stayed away from her, and she lost all her social connections. The arrogant and superior life she pursued completely collapsed, and she could only bear the lonely ending of self-inflicted humiliation. In contrast, my life is thriving and brilliant. Half a year after coming to Chicago, my independent design project won the National Industry Gold Award, becoming the youngest award-winning designer in the Institute's history. My personal studio was officially established, receiving continuous high-end orders and industry cooperation invitations. My career reached a peak that I never dared to imagine in my 4 years of marriage. I traveled to various cities for work and vacation, expanded my horizons, made excellent and independent new friends, and lived a free, confident, and splendid life. I no longer center my life on anyone else, no longer wrong myself for any relationship, and completely grasp the initiative of my life in my own hands. Occasionally, I hear news about Zach from mutual friends. He has no motivation for work. His life is decadent and messy, and he still keeps the apartment as it was when I left, waiting foolishly for a person who will never return. He spends every day in regret and memory, paying the price for his original selfishness and betrayal for the rest of his life. But I no longer have any feelings for him, neither love nor hate. He is just a passerby who once appeared in my youth and taught me to grow. His regret and pain have nothing to do with my present splendor. I finally understand the true meaning of female growth. Marriage is never a woman's lifelong destination, and dedication never needs to be blind and unprincipled. The best love is to love yourself first. The best security is independent ability and a shining self, never pin your happiness on others' mercy and tenderness. Only when you are strong enough can you cut off all wrong ties without hesitation, embrace a brand new life, and bloom your own unique light. Those who betray sincerity and trample on tenderness will eventually be trapped in the prison of their own regret for a lifetime. Those who wake up bravely and choose self-redemption will eventually break free from trivial shackles and usher in endless brilliant possibilities in life.